And these things and these blessings we ask in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Owen, could you fly our flag for us? Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Porter. We will go ahead and go into public input. Time has been set aside for the public to express ideas, concerns, and comments for subject matters not listed on the agenda. If you're here for public comment on public hearing item 1, please wait for that one. We will set 3 minutes aside for each public comment. Please keep your comments respectful. Owen, do we have anybody for public comment?
We do not, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. So then I will go ahead and close public comment. For our policy meeting item number 6 for the fire department, joining us from Talons Cove, we are going to wait just a couple of minutes for Mayor Miller to join you in the room. He's on his way. So we're going to go ahead and go to reports, city council reports.
Mayor Pro Tem, I know that you've also been involved in this. I know that we've been working with the Thrive development in regards to their use of the closed road to access the site. I think I saw something come across the wire just before the meeting, but one of the property owners there, Miss Gutierrez, has noted that they've been moving the barriers slowly onto the public road, so she basically can't get out of her driveway anymore without backing into the Jersey barrier. So as we're dealing with that, whether it's removing the barriers completely or replacing them where they belong, if we could just make sure that we're taking that into account.
Mark, do you want to share anything on that? I know that you were copied on those things.
Mark, maybe finishing up a phone call real quick, unfortunately.
Okay, so I was copied on those too. Oh, and I can speak to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did send that residents' comments, Chris. Okay. I think I copied you on it, and they said they were going to address it immediately. So I'm hoping that's tomorrow morning. I know Jeremy was involved in that email, so I don't know. Maybe we could ask someone from just the city just to go check tomorrow morning to make sure that those have been moved or they are being moved, so that they're not on public space. Those need to be on the private property side of the property line.
Yeah, we'll make sure to follow up with that as well.
Okay, is that all, Councilman Porter?
That was the only item I had.
Okay, I was going to report tonight. I've had the opportunity. I did it last year. I did it this year to go to Lake Mountain Middle School and Vista, and I'm doing the Utah Military Academy tomorrow. I've been teaching their one class for each of their AP Human Geography courses. It's I don't even teach. It's basically an hour of Q&A with the students, and they've got great questions about sewer and roads and how infrastructure gets put in and how they get built. So it's been a great experience. We've got a bright future with some of those kids as far as being future city planners and elected officials. It's been a good experience. Owen, should we skip administration report for now and go to consent until Mayor Miller gets to the fire department?
Looks like City Manager Christensen joined us, so unless I don't have anything, but he may have some administrative reports.
Mark?
Yeah, the administrative report really was just going to touch on, thanks, the legislative session is heating up. For those of you that, there was a couple of you that participated on a call last week with Representative Brammer regarding the Utah Lake Authority bill. And so just a quick heads up, we've drafted some changes. I've circulated those to you as a council. We're going to be, we've gotten some feedback from around the county. And so we are going to then incorporate those changes. And I hope to have my comments to Representative Brammer tonight. And again, these are generally comments from across the county, the cities across the county that participated with the call. There's a lot of things going on up at the Hill with ADUs and some other things. The league has come out with some compromise language on some of those bills, and we're holding out, hoping that, you know, the compromise language that the league is representing can pass, because we feel like that's probably language about as good as we're going to get and about all we could hope for. But again, it's a tough year up on the Hill with the limitations that we have being able to be up in person lobbying like we've done in years past. But I'd be happy to tackle any questions specifically. If you want to call me offline or shoot me an email, I'd be happy to address any of the other bills. The Utah Lake Authority bill is numbered, and it's House Bill 364. And so I'll let you know as those changes get submitted, and hopefully as changes get amended to that bill, hopefully we can just see some rougher edges be taken off so that it's something that we can truly back. So again, that's my report for this week. And we do have need of a closed session tonight to discuss a few items. So you've got a link for that, and we'll chat at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we're still waiting for Mayor Miller to arrive at Towns Cove. So we'll go to the consent items. Consent items are items on the agenda that don't need regular discussion. Is there any discussion on the consent items before we move on those?
Councilmember.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm really glad to see that we're moving forward with the passport office, having that fee schedule in there. Nothing to have to pull it off or anything. I just wanted to point that out. That's been one of our goals for quite a while, and we're getting that much closer. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Mark, did you have something you wanted to interject there?
Yeah, no, and I apologize. I did consult with the mayor, and he agreed that these items were all worthy of consent calendar. So thank you very much. Sorry to overrun you there, Michael.
No, I'm glad that we're going in that direction. I think it's a great use of the mayor city manager relationship to do a consent calendar again.
Councilman Porter, did you want to pull all this off?
What's that?
Did you want to pull all these items off and discuss them?
Since I was the one complaining about last time, I'll move that we approve the consent item on the items on the consent calendar.
Great, we've got a first, we have a second on that.
I'll second that. Dated today.
Okay, so we've got a first from Councilman Porter and a second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion on the item? We'll do a roll call. Councilman McComber,
Aye.
Councilman Wilden,
Aye.
Councilman Porter,
Aye.
Councilman Podeska.
Aye.
I've got a procedural question. Do I vote now if I'm
You
acting
do
as Mayor
vote.
Pro Tem?
You do vote.
So I also vote aye. So that item carries unanimous.
And for the recordings, Councilman Karn, just say Councilman Karn and then just say aye.
Got it. Councilman Karn, aye. That passes
That way
unanimously.
when she's typing it, she doesn't have to think whose voice is that again. Yeah. So
Okay.
I think the mayor has arrived.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arrived
If
at-
the mayor's arrived, we'll go back to our policy meeting, item 6, the presentation and swearing in of department personnel. We probably need to unmute the fire department's feed and let them know we're ready to proceed.
We're ready. Can you hear us?
We can,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, let me just say a couple things before I turn the mic over to the mayor. Again, we're grateful for the support that we receive from you, the council, and the rest of our city administration. This is a huge day for us. As you see the personnel sitting in front of you, we will have not just our 9, but we also hired 3 last year just before COVID started. And if you'll remember, we wanted to get them into the council meetings to be sworn in, and things just progressed where we weren't able to do that. So we actually be swearing in 12 individuals this night. Again, we thank you and appreciate your support in all we do. Mayor?
Thank you very much. Sorry for my tardiness with COVID. I'm sure we're real people we're meeting. If you'd all please stand. Raise your right arm to the square and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you. Welcome to Saratoga Springs.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, if those individuals that have been asked to come up and pin these terrific individuals. So for David and Jason, if you already have your badge, just take it off and hand it to someone. All right, don't take off. After you have them pinned, we'll have everybody turn around. We'll get some pictures. I apologize, Captain Morley, for not recognizing you earlier. We appreciate you being here. All right, so let's get some pictures, and while they're up there, I will tell you a little bit about them. So these are in alphabetical order. So Sergio, a humble kid from the big city of Los Angeles who aspires to make a positive impact within his community here in Saratoga Springs. Sergio has many hobbies, such as include playing soccer, going shooting, and being active in general. But overall, his favorite would be spending time with his family. Over the years, he's had many influential people in his life. To name a few, his girlfriend, her name. Sasha, that's it. I apologize, Sasha. But this is the last time that'll happen. So, and his immediate family. Sergio says he wouldn't be where he is today without the guidance from his family, love, and support. So for that, we would like to thank each and every one of you. John Cross. John grew up in Utah Valley and recently moved here to Saratoga Springs. 12 years he's worked in underwater construction, as well as 5 years with the North Fork Fire Department. His favorite things include anything outdoors and traveling. He's excited for the opportunity to work for this department and serve the citizens where he now lives. Bryce Hildebrand. Bryce was born and raised in Santa Clarita, California. On his free time, he likes to fish and go snowboarding. He has lived in Utah for just over a year. In that year, he's completed the Recruit Academy through UVU and worked part-time in Springville Fire and Rescue. His family consists of mother Tammy, father Brian, and younger brother Blake. Brian Holiday. Brian has served in the fire service for around 12 years. He's married to his high school sweetheart, and they've been together for the past 20 years. They have 3 beautiful children, 2 daughters and 1 son. They love spending time together, dinners, movies, but most of all, Disneyland. But due to COVID, we haven't been able to visit. We recently purchased a motor home and can't wait to explore all the national parks in Utah this year. Brian also says he's excited to join Saratoga Springs Fire family and serve the community here. Abby Merrifield. Abby, I won't reveal your age. She's 21. Abby grew up in a big family and has a twin brother. Abby says she's grown up in the Utah County area all her life. Abby loves fitness, sports, fishing, camping, and videography. I'm excited for the opportunity to be firefighter for Saratoga Springs. Let me just tell you a little something about Abby, additionally to what she's written. We're in the process of going through our selection process of our applicants. And during that process, Abby had actually the day before we were going to conduct interviews. She submitted her application at about 4 p.m. the day before. We invited her to come in for the interview process, and the rest is history. Here she is, and we're glad to have her. Alec Wilson. Alec says he's been married to his wife, Lexi, for 4 years, and one amazing daughter, Alice. Like to do anything that will get him outdoors, loves hanging around with friends and family. Started in the fire service in 2018, a paid call fire department in Southeast Idaho, and learned the basics of firefighting there. Fast forward to July 2020, started an internship with Saratoga Springs Fire and Rescue, where he was able to get to know the crew and learn so much about fire medical, and look forward to a long, successful career with the city and the fire department. Isaac Osler. Isaac grew up in Cedar Hills, coming from a family of 7, and currently lives in Springville, Utah. On his days off, he enjoys hiking, fishing, amateur spelunking. Before being hired in Saratoga, Isaac worked part-time as an advanced EMT and firefighter at Springville Fire and Rescue. During his time at Springville, Isaac was able to attend UVU's RCA Firefighter Academy and is now currently enrolled in paramedic school, projected to graduate in April of this year. Kelly Watts. Kelly was raised most of his life in Utah, comes from a family of 8 children. All of us are close and live in the same city, he says. Worked for the state during doing wildfire, it is a wildlife, for 9 years. Dreamed of joining the city department all his life and is beyond excited to finally have made it. Married for just over 5 years, has a beautiful wife, they have 2 kids, a 3-year-old girl, Talia. Is that correct? Talia? All right, I mentioned that. And a 1-year-old boy, Tucker. Daxton Woods. Daxton likes spending time with family and playing sports. He was born in American Fork and then moved to Eagle Mountain, where he went to Westlake High School. Daxton, his wife Shay, his oldest son Maddox, second son Bowden. Yep. Thank you. And a baby on the way, Sawyer. So they've already got a name. Congratulations. Daxton was also so he was one of our high school interns. Both Daxton and Chris White, who I'll tell you a little bit about, were both high school interns through Westlake High School's program. So we're glad to have them. David McNamara. David is from Columbus, Ohio, married and been for over 5 years. Has 2 kids. Their names Bo and Ray Lynn. Currently in paramedic school, and once finished, will graduate with his bachelor's degree. Says he likes to snowboard occasionally, but most of the time he likes to spend life with his kids and children doing fun activities. Likes cooking at the firehouse, and currently guacamole champ of Saratoga Springs Fire and Rescue. Chris White. Chris was born in Southern California and lived there until he was 11. His family moved to Saratoga Springs in 2006, and he's been here since then. I enjoy playing sports, Chris says, and spending time with friends and family. A great family of 3, my lovely wife, Sharoni. Last time. And beautiful baby daughter, Shimri. All right. Who is almost 6 months old. So ladies and gentlemen, if you would please welcome our new full-time firefighters.
Owen, if you can still hear me, let's thank the fire department there at Talons Cove, and I believe Mayor Miller has rushed back to his council chamber seat. and I will turn the meeting back over to the mayor. Mayor, we've gone through everything to the consent item. We are at public hearing 1.
Thank you for doing that, Councilman Carn. Public hearing, we have a public hearing for the Utah Lake Estates sewer easement. Who's got that, Mark?
Gina has that one.
That is me. Hang on just a second. Muted and I'm having. There we go. All righty. We have the Utah Lake Estates. It's a sewer easement, current utility easement within the Utah Lake Estates subdivision. They are getting ready to start the improvements. They have preliminary plat approval, which you approved a couple months ago. They are in need of vacating the sewer easement that runs north to south, or south to north, whichever one that is. I believe the sewer runs north. So the existing sewer easement here runs along the middle of these back 3 lots. And so as they install their development, they will be putting in the sewer line in this new easement that is going to be dedicated to the city. So with that, you have the recommended motions. If you have any questions, I'm here, as well as Gordon, and yeah.
Okay.
The applicant is here as well, Mayor.
Perfect. Does the applicant have anything they'd like to add before we open the public hearing? Okay. We will open the public hearing. Please be respectful in your comments. Please try and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetitive comments. Owen, did we have any comments, or is anybody on for the public hearing?
We don't have anybody on for the public hearing, and I'm not aware of any comments that we received on this one.
Okay. With that, I will close the public hearing and open it to the council for any questions or discussion.
Mayor, really quick, I'm going to excuse myself from this with the developer being the same as a property from my mom's land.
Okay.
So just due to possible conflict of interest.
Okay, that works. Okay, if there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I just had a couple questions.
Okay.
I guess this is for probably for Gordon. The easement that they're proposing here has got a lot of right angles. I know that pipes don't do great with right angles. From an engineering standpoint, is there any reason? Is there any concern?
I can't remember the sewer alignment here, but if we've got manholes and I'm sure we do, we have manholes at the junctions, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Now, I would like to point out, though, that these manholes are now in an area that, generally we like to keep sewer in the roadway so that our guys can have easy access to it, to maintain it, to make sure it's going right. This is a little bit tricky because it's now shifting the sewer right on the edge of the lake. And generally, when we have done things like that, we have required the applicant to harden the surface so that we can get our vac truck, our sewer maintenance trucks onto that property to be able to service the lines and other things. And so, I was not part of those discussions, but to your point, Councilmember Porter, there are now a couple of extra manholes that we're going to need to be able to access and maintain. And so, Gordon, do you know, did we harden the roadway, and is that a roadway that goes around the back of the house that will allow us to have access with our sewer vac trucks?
I can't remember, but I can ensure that standard is met.
Okay. So
I can answer that for you, Mark. There will be an asphalt trail along the back of that, or I believe it's an asphalt trail.
Are you sure it's asphalt? Because you can't have asphalt along the lake.
Yeah, I was going to say,
then it's concrete.
Yeah, and the concrete trail would also need to tie to the harbor and Pelican, trails that are to the south. And I know the harbor trail is concrete, but again, I just want to make sure that we're very clear that is hardened in such a way that it, it makes it so Public Works can access and service that line.
Yes, Gina's been working with engineering and Public Works. You'll also see they accommodated turnaround. So you'll see at the north end, it's a little extra larger. That's because they were working with us and wanted to make sure there was room to turn the maintenance vehicle around. So they have been working with that. It is a concrete trail. The portion along the lake there is the same lakeshore trail. So they've just made it a little beefier to accommodate a vehicle, but it'll still serve as the pedestrian trail as well.
Any other questions? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'm sorry, you did public hearing. I forgot you did it. I'll make a motion that I move that we approve public hearing item number 1, Utah Lake Estates sewer easement vacation LeGrand. I don't want to mess up the last name here. Applicant, I'll just say that. Ordinance R21-4 dated today with any findings and conditions in the staff report.
Second.
I have a first from Councilman Carn, a second from Councilman Wilden. Any further discussion? Do a roll call. Councilman Carn.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
And Councilman Podesta is abstaining. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have business item 1, community-based strategic plan 2021-2026.
Mayor and Council, we have Mackie joining with us tonight. As we alluded to last week when we were discussing some council goals, I believe we've got our strategic plan group with us here as well. And so we'll turn the time over to Mackie to walk the strategic plan and roll the strategic plan out to you as a council. Thank you.
Some long time no see. Great to be with all of you again. This time talking about 5-year goals and objectives. So really excited to be here with 4 members of our Strategic Planning Advisory Committee, Erica Groneman, Matt Bunker, Stephanie Slack, and Sid Hatch. So thank you all so much for joining in to this council meeting. We really appreciate the 4 of you giving an extra hour of your time to meet here today. We're going to keep it really high level so we have more time to answer any questions. You've all had the opportunity to review the document, and we've had discussions in previous meetings about some of the objectives. But if I can pull up the PowerPoint, Owen, should I just go ahead and share that on my screen then?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. Give me just one sec. So similar to the what was discussed in our planning session in January, the plan had a wide array of engaged organizations throughout the community. We facilitated over 12 dialogue sessions, collected over 1,000 resident surveys, and contacted around 25 different organizations to help share the survey, to help get their organizations involved. So really pleased, especially given the pandemic, the fact that people were willing to take time to invest in what the future of the city should look like. Just really want to give a hats off to residents and also to the members of this advisory committee who led out and spearheaded this engagement effort. Just a little bit on the format of the strategic plan. So there are actually 4 strategic directives. Those are what the city should get right or should focus resources on over the next 4 years to really bring about that quality of life that the city is aiming for. Under those are strategic initiatives. So what specifically can we do to accomplish our directives? And then lastly, some goals. What do success metrics look like? Those are built out more on the document that was shared with all of you, but we're just going to really be covering the 4 major directives with a few initiatives that really are going to drive a lot of success in each of these 4 areas. So the first one that I'll talk on briefly, well-planned growth and housing. Not a surprise that this would be something that would come to the top of the list of what residents care about. we can see that second one on where could Saratoga Springs improve ease of transportation. Residents are, they're hopeful, as well as rightfully a little nervous given the massive growth that's going on along the entire Wasatch Front. And so they're excited and really voiced that feedback that they'd love the city to invest in that proactive growth and making sure that there is an appropriate housing stock for future generations. So in line with that, some of the major initiatives that show up from the plan include continuing efforts that the city is already doing to coordinate with UDOT on investing in Redwood Road, Mountain View Corridor, and Foothill Boulevard, continuing to implement the Transportation Master Plan, and just continuing to invest in infrastructure and where legal and ethical to continue to enforce density that has already been established within city code for certain projects. So just continuing the work that you're already doing to try to manage the growth that's already on path. So that's that first initiative. Let me just go back to my slide. I'm going to turn it over to Matt Bunker to talk for a minute on economic development and the major initiatives that are going to be driving success in that area.
You're muted, Matt.
There we go. Is that better? Can you hear me okay? Great. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the ability to have served on this Strategic Planning Commission, and I'm grateful for the things that were discussed. As far as the economic development portion of it, the residents voiced aspects of economic development as a major priority in both of our surveys and our focus groups, which Mackie said are, there was a lot of feedback, as you see in the document. The city is already working very well in this regard, specifically with the Economic Development Committee and that advises the council. But the plan calls out the continuation or the expansion of certain efforts. And these are as follows, that we need to strategically attract and retain a mix of businesses that can provide employment opportunities, namely organizations that will increase the need of office space and create a daytime crowd in Saratoga Springs. The second point is to continue to recruit diverse dining experiences. Sit-down restaurants were heavily mentioned in the community outreach. And then also shopping opportunities such as like hardware stores. And the final point really of this economic development piece is to continue to support the tech infrastructure such as broadband, so that tech companies will look to Saratoga Springs as a good place to relocate, and as a neighboring community to the Lehigh area and Silicon Slopes would be a good way to alleviate some of the rent prices there. So that is the economic development portion. I'll turn it back over to Mackie.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. I'll turn it back to Sid, who's going to talk on access to recreation.
All right. I too would like to thank the city of Saratoga Springs for this opportunity to participate in this in the strategic planning committee for the city of Saratoga Springs. I've lived here now for about 6 years, and one of the main reasons I came out here to Saratoga Springs was because of what we have in terms of our natural beauty and access to, recreation outdoors. We've got the lake to the east of us, and we've got the mountain behind us, and it's just a great resource. Both of those are great resources that we have for recreation, and we want to maintain that. So as we reached out and talked to the community, we heard a lot of that as well. We've got a lot of development coming in. And so there's concerns about the fact that we may lose the ability to have these recreational amenities that we have that attracted a lot of people out here from the get-go. And so we want to make sure that we strike a balance as we continue to grow, that we continue to have these amenities and access to them. One of the things that came up that I thought was very interesting was, and rightfully so, if you look at the development that's taking place along the lake, there's a lot of private development that's going in. And so we want to be able to improve lake access for those that don't necessarily live along the lake. We've got that amenity. Let's develop some public access areas, expand those a little bit more so that we can continue to enjoy that natural resource that we have. As well as, the mountain and the ATV trails and the ability to get out and mountain bike and do things, on the west side as we have access to Lake Mountain. The other thing that we talked about and that we heard a lot about was, the community likes the recreational youth programs that we have, and Patriot Park coming in was a very positive thing for this community, and so we'd like to see a continued effort to increase the ability to have these opportunities, increase the opportunities that are out there for our community as far as youth recreation is concerned. And then the other thing that did keep coming up, and I'm sure this is no surprise, as we grow as a community, the topic of a recreation center kept coming up. And so I believe, and as a committee, we believed it would be good to do a feasibility study to evaluate the feasibility of having a recreation center here in our area. With the projected growth that we have coming in, it's probably a good time to revisit that and see how feasible that is. And then based on the feasibility study, put it to the public and see if it's something that they want to pay for as a community. So those are the main things that we looked at is improving access and maintaining access to the areas that we have as far as natural resources, the rec opportunities, and then let's evaluate a feasibility study on a rec center. Mac, back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sid. And just to reiterate that point, I mean, this is no surprise discussion. I mean, the members of this committee themselves are half and half on the rec center question. So it's not up to this committee to make that decision. It's just bringing it up to you. A lot of residents have voiced it, and so to evaluate that and then let residents decide if they want to pay for that. So just thanks for how you said that, Sid. And no major surprises, hopefully, for the council on this. I'm going to turn it to Erica for our last one, which is connected community.
Oh, I also wanted to thank the council for the opportunity to serve on this committee. I love Saratoga Springs, and this is a great privilege. And what I'm talking about today was actually a big surprise to me. I hadn't even considered it, but it came up in some of the focus groups and in the survey of just being connected with our sidewalks and the pedestrian, the access throughout the city. And I started noticing it after it was brought up to me, I started noticing it throughout the city. Basically what this one is about is to look and see if there's any gaps in the infrastructure, specifically talking about bikes and pedestrian traffic, not necessarily a road, but between neighborhoods and between developments. It was brought up that kids that go to the same school can't walk safely between neighborhoods that go to the same school, and in some cases. And so to look at that as a city and identify any of those gaps that might be existing. And then as new developments come in, to enforce the connectivity to the sidewalks and things to what's already existing. And then to also identify some important pedestrian crossings and to put some, especially near schools, other intersections that might be a little more dangerous, any intersection really, and make sure that there is a safe walking route for children and youth as they're going from neighborhood to neighborhood. As an example of this, 400 North, which is it's part of our parade route. And if you notice it doesn't have sidewalks on both sides all the way through. And so that's just one example of somewhere that could be considered, and to look at some of these high traffic areas, that especially when kids are going to school, and making some safe walking routes, and just to keep that in mind as the developments are going through, to remember that we're trying to connect the city not only through roads and cars, but also with the bikers and the pedestrians. And so that was something that was interesting to me. I've noticed a few spots throughout the city that could use some attention in that. So did that cover it, Mackie?
Yep. No, that's
Okay.
awesome, Erica.
Thank you.
And then Stephanie, I want to give you the opportunity if you wanted to share anything, who's one of our committee members who's also on the call.
I really don't add too much. The committee did a fantastic job on the presentation. I think we all learned quite a bit about I think we were surprised at some of the things that people in the community were thinking about and talking about. I mean, some things obvious, they want a Home Depot or the equivalent, they want restaurants, they want a place to sit down and eat. But yeah, like Erica said, with the neighborhood connectivity and being able to ride around Saratoga Springs on your bike safely, and access to the lake and recreation things. And while I was talking with people and looking at the surveys, I think people were excited that the city council reached out to them through this committee to find out where they wanted things to go. And I think in the current national political arena, it's quite refreshing. And I think people are, especially in this time during COVID, are looking forward to improving communities, which was very uplifting to me. So it was a great privilege to be part of the committee.
I love that. Thanks so much, Stephanie. And the council, I want to say, in terms of next steps, you're already on that pathway. You've done goal setting for 2021, and the city is already working actively to implement those initiatives. And those initiatives align up perfectly with the priorities that were voiced by residents. So as a next step, and I can communicate this more with Owen and Mark offline, but would recommend circling back to those organizations with whom we conducted focus groups, if any council member would like to attend those meetings, and talk about, here's what we as a city council are going to be doing in response to the feedback you gave. Closing that feedback loop can be a really valuable tool in cementing the trust that's been created from this process. So I'm just really excited for you all as a council for the next steps, and to see your commitment already to implementing the plan and really having the plan guide the budget, I think is you're already on the right path. So just want to say thank you so much, and we're ready to answer any questions you might have.
Mayor, I have a question real quick, if possible.
Yeah.
So one, I would absolutely love to be part of sort of their virtual meetings with those focus groups right now because of COVID. I personally would like to be a part of that. I think really as a council as a whole, we should make ourselves available. We've appreciated these people coming forward, and it'll give us a collective opportunity to thank them. And so I think with being virtual, it makes it a lot easier. And then I also think it's really important that we communicate back through our social media channels to the greater audience, all the people who responded to the survey, so that we can voice that they were heard and here's what they said. And sort of also, Mayor, outline our goals, what we're doing as a council, because we've listened to them and what we're doing. Because as much as we wish there were 100 people on this phone call today, there's not. We're less than 20. but and most of them are city employees and council and commission members. So
there's 7 on YouTube, Councilman McComber.
7 on YouTube, which is a record. That's a close record almost for us. So, but I think it'd be great for us to close that loop with the residents, the 1,000. I mean, that's really impressive when you're looking at how many adults, 18 and older, potentially. I mean, kids could take the survey too. We didn't limit it, but really, it's a great response rate for any survey. And then just let them know that we heard them and here's what they said and here's what we're doing as a council. So just want to add that extra component, but I'm happy to participate in any of those follow-ups with the town halls to voice our appreciation.
And Councilman, to your point, there's several hundred of the respondents left their email address when they conducted the survey, so it can easily be communicated back to them what those results were. So just to echo your point.
On top of that, that'd be fantastic. And I would have it be maybe even a formal from the mayor and as chair of the council and put all of our names on there because I mean that's just a fantastic way to stay engaged. You said you were impressed. I'm not surprised. Saratoga Springs always gets involved, and we continue to do so. We have one of the best cities, period, when it comes to our communities getting involved. And you look around what we do on a day-to-day basis throughout the year, and it's always impressive. So any way we can thank them, be great.
Mackie, yeah, if we could do that, and if you could, when you set those up, if it's going to be like Councilman Conver said, over Zoom or some form of digital, let us know so as many of us can attend. And really, to the committee, thank you so much. I know some of you probably, when we originally asked you to be part of this committee, are like, oh, what am I doing? Does it add value? This document really does add a lot of value. We've used the other document that you guys have put in place before. Some of you were on that committee. Some of you are new to represent the new demographic and areas of the community. The council really valued your input in and your activity in the community as the names came forward for this committee. It wasn't drawn from a hat. It was well thought out as to who would get out into the community and get these answers that we're looking for. So we appreciate your hard work. We appreciate your time. So on behalf of the council and the city, thank you. This document really will be a big benefit as we plan going forward.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mayor, I got a quick comment if I could. So I want to make sure that it's recognized and called out that this document and the findings of this was not driven by us as a council and mayor. This was driven by the citizens back to the council and mayor. This is guidance from our residents to us on what they want to see. And I think, Councilman Wilden will roll his eyes if he's on the video. I'm fairly active on social media, and I put this out there today, and some of the comments back were, why does the council do this or why do they do that? This was coming from residents to us. And I'm very encouraged when I looked at this, because when I look at the 4 areas of focus, these are all things that we're doing today. And these are all things that we are focusing on. So to me, it helps me understand that, okay, maybe we as a council and mayor do understand a lot of what people are asking for. Something as simple as connected community, which came up as a very popular topic. Just a few months ago, we approved almost, Mark, you can correct me, $800,000 or $900,000 to connect a lot of the trail systems that aren't connected today. So that's just one example. One thing I did want to ask Mark, so that's out on the record, because we've talked a lot about rec centers over the years, and I don't, maybe you know, maybe you don't. What would a real feasibility study cost the city when we talk about a rec center? Because it's not just something we go out and say, oh, we might cost this. We're gonna have to hire someone to do that. What's that gonna cost us?
We got some rough estimates right before we had this conversation with that group last year.
For our Patriot Park edition, yeah.
Yeah, we got a rough draft or a rough estimate of around $100,000. And so if that's something that we would like to proceed with, then certainly we can add that to this year's budget and charge forward with something like that. But the feasibility study would include, all kinds of things, including revenue projections and, how much population we need to participate, funding structures, the various elements that we would want to incorporate into that. And so again, that was a consultant just saying, hey, ballpark, this is a ballpark number.
The only reason I brought that up on this call is because if you look at, I don't even know what page it is, but Mackie, the word chart you put on there with the highest responses being bold and in blue, rec center on the top left, we hear both sides of this discussion every day from residents. I want one. I don't want to pay for one. I want one. I don't want to pay for one. And so it would probably be good, and I'll let other council members weigh in, if we had real numbers. We have rough numbers. We know what we think it's going to cost us roughly, but we don't have all the information around, once we build it, what's it going to cost to run that thing, and how much is it, how many people need to participate, and all those real numbers. So, having a real feasibility study, which we've never done, to my understanding, on that type of facility, is something that maybe we need to look at. A 6-figure feasibility study seems pretty high to me. I don't know if we can shop that if there's lots of people who do it, but that's something that I think people want to see.
Eagle Mountains cost $180,000
for their feasibility study.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not cheap.
And for us, when we do like fee studies, fee studies are somewhere in the $20,000 to $30,000 range, and that's them looking specifically at our current fee structure,
like a garbage fee.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's probably not, 180 is probably not an out of the realm number. But again, we're also probably talking about a
$50 million building. Yeah. So I don't want to take us down the rabbit hole too much. I want to thank the committee. I know there's a few names on here that I submitted to participate, and I thank you. And I'm sorry that maybe I should apologize for recommending you to do this. But it is a lot of time that residents take out of their own personal lives to do this study and coordinate with Mackie. And so I appreciate that. And that's all I've got, Mayor.
And to focus on the comment you made, Councilman Carn, the first, when these committees met, Mackie, none of the council showed up. We asked them not to. We didn't want this to be swayed by the council or things we've heard, because we've been working with it for a while. We wanted this to solely be the residents. So other than the welcome and intro, the committees functioned with the residents to avoid any kind of political sway or council sway.
Yeah, this has really been an autonomous process where the committee members, just regular volunteers, led out on community engagement. We let out on interpreting the results of that engagement and ultimately deciding what's going to show up in the plan. So it's I love the transparency of a process like this. And just to a couple of the council members' points, that that there weren't any major surprises. That what residents prioritize are things that the council is ready and willing to implement. So it's just really exciting, and just kudos again.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
I was just gonna say, can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes.
Barely.
I might have. I'll talk loud. I think they have the wrong microphone enabled. Sorry about that. I think the last time we did this was like 6 years ago, and I just feel like this time, it was 5-6 years ago, a lot better community engagement, a lot more engagement from the committee members. So just really appreciate everyone's efforts.
Amidst a pandemic.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Perfect. Okay.
Mayor, I'd just like to echo everything that's been said. I know that several of these members were people that I suggested or recommended or approved or whatever you want to call it. And I just appreciate them willing to take time out of their lives to help guide our city.
Okay. Perfect. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve business item, where'd it go? Business item number 1, dated today, resolution R21-13.
I'll second that.
We have a first from Councilman Podeska, a second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion? McComber?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
Tedesca.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you again so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. for
Yes,
your
thank
time.
you.
Okay, we have business item 2, fiscal year 2021 second quarter budget financial statements.
Mayor, City Council, in your packet, I put in the second quarter financial statements for fiscal year 2021. And in the packet, it shows that our revenues are healthy for the second quarter. The biggest anomaly for this quarter is the intergovernmental revenue due to the CARES Act money that we received in September of this year. And another to note is our third quarter Bluffdale contract was received in second quarter this year, so that's why it shows higher than normal. I also included a few charts so you can look over the last 4 years or so and see how the progression of the increases have happened over the course of those years. And I just wanted to open it up for questions if you had any.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we.
I actually had a question. Sorry. Sorry. I was having technical
I
problems.
move that we could turn it over to Michael.
Sorry, I was having technical problems and my computer froze. So I'm looking through the charts, and so when I see the star saying multi-year, is it 4 years or 6 years, or is it vary?
It's 6 years, but I'm showing the last 4 years of data. It's a multi-year of 6 years, but it's showing the data for 4 at the bottom in the graph in the chart.
Okay, great. And then here it is. So you described the different variants, like when you had red, which I really appreciated, like why there was a difference and where, you know, various things are happening. Like we collect money at the beginning of the year, we have expense at the beginning of the year. My question was on, hold on, I'm trying to get there. So where we, on the capital funds, the various capital projects, we have some gaps, and it just says we're using the fund balance to pay for current projects. Is there an expectation that additional funds will be coming in? Are we gonna have to borrow from the general fund to make up the difference?
No, typically with capital project funds is you save up money over time and then use your fund balance to fund the projects that are currently going on. So that's why you're using fund balance to fund the current projects. But
right,
it's from
and then
that fund. It's from that fund, the fund balance from that fund.
So then when I see year-to-date net revenue divided by expense, that's the balance of the fund?
No, that is what the revenue was received this fiscal year compared to the expenditures, but there's fund balance that has been saved over the course of years that isn't shown here. All that's shown here is the revenues coming in and the expenditures going out for this fiscal year.
And in all cases, we have enough fund balance to cover all of them?
What is budgeted, yes.
Okay, great. Those are my questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve business item 2 as stated on the agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Wilden, a second from Councilman Carn. Any further discussion? Councilman McComber?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Tedesca?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to business item 3, fiscal year 2022 budget discussion.
Okay, in the packet, there's 10 pages of budget requests, as you can see in the PDF that was sent to you. In the general fund specifically, there was 2.9 million requested, with almost 2.3 million that is recommended to be approved. A lot of these items that are approved include what we've already done an adjustment for this year, like some of the positions that didn't make it into this year's current budget is being budgeted, and we did the amended budget this last month. So with this, This is also including in that the COVID reductions that we had made for this fiscal year for pay plan. We're reinstituting that. And then also on top of this, that also includes the pay plan for this year.
Sorry, just to clarify, so we're giving all of the COVID reduction back
For
and
the pay plan.
and then also the current. So there will be no COVID impact to the
No.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Well, no COVID impact for fiscal year 2022, which starts on July 1. The budgets that have been balanced for each fund have been balanced. So everything that we expect to receive and expend this year balances so that nothing's in the negative. Just to make a note, you guys were talking about the feasibility study. There is $40,000 that is budgeted in the Parks Fund for the Recreation Center feasibility. So we already have a start on that. If that needs to be adjusted, that can also happen. But that is already in the budget already.
About $160,000 to that.
Yeah, after listening to that, I was like, wow, I might need way more than that. But anyway, it's there in the budget and it can be adjusted as we see fit, as we look at fund balance to see if we have the funds to cover it.
And one other thing that I want to point out is in the general fund, we did do as was directed by the council, and that was we proposed the property tax reduction beginning in fiscal year 2022 of $60,000 a year. That's the last page of the general fund options that were proposed.
And what percentage does that represent?
We collect a little over $3 million a year, and so that would be roughly, about 2%.
So with the 10
where is that reflected on this
That
document?
was page 5.
It's on the last page of the general fund, so it's on the sixth page, 4 or 5. It's at the very bottom under revenues, reduced property tax. The reason why that is added is because that's going to reduce the expenditure portion of it.
If you remember in governmental accounting, revenues are negative. So
reversed. Yeah.
All reversed. Chris, I always had to change my mind from business to city. It's always weird.
So I open it up to any questions you might have concerning any of the requests that were made or any of the recommendations that are in front of you.
So I just want to make a quick comment, Mayor, if I could.
You bet.
I appreciate the property tax decrease of 2%. I think that with the uncertainties still that are coming forth, I think that that's probably conservative, and we are always trying to be conservative in our projections and in our goals. As a city, I've always appreciated Mark doing that. And then we'll continue to watch this, and instead of waiting every 3 or 4 years, we can evaluate it and at least have a conversation annually. I think it's an important part of the budget since all of the money really is the residents' money. And we can have that conversation. So I appreciate the opportunity to give back to the residents in a time when that is not happening anywhere else in their engagement with the government. So thank you.
I do have one question, if I may, Mayor.
Yep.
I agree, by the way, Councilman McComber, very well said. Your statements there, appreciate it. Usually on the spreadsheet that's shared, it'll show, and maybe it's a different spreadsheet or I just missed it. It'll show, here's what we projected for revenues for the year versus here's what we're projecting with the budgeted increases and existing expenses and kind of a net difference minus transfers. I know it'll balance out exactly if you throw but usually we look at it sans transfers just to make sure we're being conservative. I didn't see that on there.
No, this is just the requests and what was recommended, but that is coming for next meeting.
Okay.
You're wanting to jump straight to the last chapter of the book, Councilmember Wilden.
Well, that's the first thing I go to. Hey,
that is always.
You start at the top and work your way down. But I know usually what comes to us is very conservative, and I'm comfortable that it'll end up being that way. But now you know what number I'll be looking for in the very first thing. If it's red, we'll have a different conversation. If it's green, it's much easier conversation.
Yeah.
Well, and
This
again,
is just a request this time to see if you had any questions concerning what was requested by departments.
and we've also felt that incorporating all of the requests that have happened as budget amendments throughout the year would also kind of help solidify this is the totality of everything that we've talked about. So I think there's kind of a lot of moving parts here, and we just wanted to kind of capture that for your discussion and make sure that we're kind of representing that for you.
I didn't see anything new that we hadn't already looked at the retreat and other things. So
No, I agree. And maybe this is besides the topic, but speaking of budget amendments, one thing I think it'd be helpful in the future is when we see those, when we're increasing expenses or whatever, look at the impact to our original budget as far as the compression of our getting out of banking. Sorry, I was going to call it the margin, but the compression on what excess we had budgeted into our original. So if we originally were budgeting whatever 100 grand over, as we make those budget amendments, seeing that, so that all of a sudden we're not getting into a negative at the end of the year. And I know you guys watch that very closely. That's just one more thing that we can look at. I usually figure it out, but it's me looking through a few numbers and then moving on. It just make it easier to review, I think, for many, including the rest.
yeah, and Steve and I on this, I agree, and I appreciate that because we call it initial business case. What's the commitment to the business? Same thing. What was our commitments to the city and to the residents, and did we meet those commitments? So appreciate that.
Yeah, I about called it the net interest margin, but that's
Yeah, that's not governmental accounting.
yeah. I mean, it's the same concept, though.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Principles are
we'd be
there.
happy to include that when we do budget amendments.
I think that would be very helpful because we do go through a lot of those, and I know we talk about them at the beginning of the year, but they kind of, even with me, get a little bit lost by the time we get into the third quarter.
Sure.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I just wanted to echo Councilman Wilden and Councilman Comber. To Councilman Comber's point, this year the county increased their property tax, and I believe that the school district did as well. So, yeah, it's
And the federal government did as well.
Direction. And then this probably goes along with Councilman Wilden's question, and it maybe next time you'll bring these numbers, but just if we could see a breakdown of the increase in revenues, just because we have a significant amount of one-time expenditures, but we have a very large amount of ongoing, and so knowing where that revenue increase is coming from, is it something that's going to be stable and ongoing, I think is another important factor when we're looking at how the increases balance out with the increases in revenue and expenditures. So just if we can have a breakdown of where we're seeing those increases in real numbers, so that if it's fees or something like that, then that's something that we can count on as a one-time expense, but not necessarily as an ongoing. So
right.
No, and we appreciate that. And in fact, both your question and Councilmember Wilden's question are alluding to the overall discussion, which is, where does this ultimately lead us? In our process, we identified what we felt were sustainable revenues. And that's why, especially in the general fund, what you're seeing are things that we believe, in my conservative nature, we can fund regardless of, some of the external, economic conditions that we might face. And so we'll definitely have that information for you as part of our future budget discussions. I think we've got a discussion pretty much queued up for the next couple of months for each of the council meetings, just to kind of walk through these various items. So we're gonna smother you with details this year.
Sounds fun.
Okay.
Mayor, I got a quick comment if I could then.
Yes.
So I was sworn in about a year ago, and COVID started about 2 months after I was sworn in.
It's all your fault.
Yeah, thanks. One thing, looking through this that I kind of want to just call out, because I'll be the first to admit, I'm still getting my arms around how our budgets work and how we operate. But one thing I think is important to call out for the 7 people online is the reduction we took last year to account for possible reductions in revenue for COVID. You know, it's across the board. You look at all the departments. Every department took reductions, and the fact that we're able to restore those and then do our normal increases, I think, are really positive for our city as a whole, showing that, you know, our growth and our ability to sustain through something like COVID, we're very healthy financially, to the point where we can look at doing a tax reduction to the residents. I think that's, you know, all very positive signs that, yes, like private business, we did reductions across the board in every department, but the ability to restore that and look at the increases we need to with the increase in funding requests, but then at the same time look at that reduction in property tax. I think this is all very, very positive, at least the way I interpret it. With my business hat on, I think this is all, you know, very positive signs for our city moving forward. You know, and looking at our projections for 2022, 2023, I think they're all very positive. And I'm excited that of what I looked at leading up to the meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We don't need a motion on that. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So made.
So made.
Okay, I have a first from Councilwoman Porter, a second Councilwoman McComber, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
See you in a
opposed?
minute.
Okay.
Owen? Owen, are you there?
Yeah,
Sorry, hi Chris.
It was snowing good.
I'm looking for the link for the closed session, and I don't.
Okay, let me get it to you.
Yeah.
He sent a meeting invite, so let me grab it real quick.
Oh, okay. It's probably on my calendar then.
Okay, let me grab it real quick.
I found it this time.
Yeah, this one was easier.
Okay. If there's nothing else, we'll close the public meeting and thank staff for all their work and talk to you guys, I guess, at the next meeting. Thank you.
Couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, no,
Thank you.
Thursday. See you Thursday. See you Thursday.
Yes.
All right.